Mythbusters.
Concerns about idling your car are the theme of the day. And we're your hosts for today, Sean
and Sharon.
We received a letter from one of our fans asking what are the myths about idling your car.
Dear Mythbusters, I went to pick up my child from school yesterday and was asked by a police officer to turn off my car while waiting in front of the school. The officer said that it was part of the City and County of Denver ordinance to limit idling to 5 minutes for every hour and part of the Denver Police Environmental Health Campaign program Engines Off. I have some major concerns regarding this request. Denver isn't always the warmest place, so I don't want my child to get cold, nor do I want to sit in my car in the cold and wait. So do cars really need to idle in order to warm up, not only the interior of the car, but the engine as well? Secondly, I feel by turning on and off my car so many times, I'll be wasting gas. Does restarting the engine of my car use more fuel than idling? And lastly, I'm afraid that by turning the car on and off, I'm creating more damage to my engine. By idling my car, am I creating less damage to the engine of my car than by restarting it?
Well, it sounds like we got 3 great myths to try out today. Let's first talk about what idling actually is. Idling is when the car's engine is on and the car is not in motion at all.
We usually see idling in trucks, school buses, and personal vehicles. Idling usually occurs when people are waiting in a bank line, waiting in a drive-through, or waiting to pick up their kids. Sometimes to warm up the inside of the car or to protect the engine.
And that brings us to our first myth. Our first myth is we're going to go see, do we really need to idle the car in order to heat up the engine and the interior of the car? We all know that heating up running the engine or the heat inside the car works off the excess heat within the engine.
Right now, Sean is idling the car to warm it up. As we know, the heat on the inside of the car comes from excess heat from the engine. He's going to raise his hand when it gets warm inside.
It's warm.
Now that we've left the car cool down a little bit, Sean is going to drive in circles to see if the car heats up again.
It's warm.
So do cars need to idle in order to warm up? Busted!
The car actually warms up faster when actually driving the car than idling.
We are now going to do our second myth. Does restarting your engine use more gas than idling? We're going to put 1 gallon of gas into the engine and idle it for 10 seconds.
Let's get started. And that's 10 seconds.
This is how much gasoline was used for 10 seconds of idling. Now we're going to empty out the engine, refill it with another gallon, and Sean is going to turn the car on and off, and we're going to measure the results.
Let's get started. There we go. Let's measure. As you can see, idling your car uses a whole lot more gas than just starting your car.
So as you can see, this myth is busted.
A final myth that we are testing today is, does idling create less engine damage than restarting the car? In order to test this, we'll be looking at the engine while it is idling, and then again while it is being turned on and off.
So right now, Sean is idling the car for 10 seconds. We're going to see if this causes more wear on the car and the engine. Now Sean is going to turn the engine on and off to see if that causes more wear. So we can see that leaving the car on for a length of time is actually worse than turning the car on and off.
So as you can see, idling the car does more damage than turning it on and off.
This myth is busted! So let's wrap up. All 3 of our myths today were busted. Idling is taking us nowhere. We found that idling does not warm up a car as well as driving. We also found that idling uses a lot more gas than driving around. And we did find that idling causes more wear and tear on your engine than driving.
Thanks, Sharon. In addition, car idling creates traffic-related air pollution, which releases benzene and up to 50% of nitrogen dioxide and carbon monoxide emissions into the cities. Particulate matter, black smoke, and toxic organic compounds are also released into the air when vehicles idle. Each minute a vehicle idles, it produces 4.8 grams of carbon monoxide. That's more carbon monoxide than the smoke from 3 packs of cigarettes. In the Denver metro area, idling vehicles produce 40,000 tons of air pollution, 400,000 tons of carbon dioxide emissions. That's a waste of more than 40 million gallons of fuel and over $100 million. Not only is idling bad for your car, but it's also bad for your health. Check this out. Some of us are more vulnerable to the pollution from idling vehicles, like individuals with pre-existing heart disease, asthma, or other lung problems. Children are more susceptible as well because they have faster respiratory rate and their respiratory systems are still developing. The elderly are more susceptible because they have limited psychological reserves. Car idling can cause a lot of health issues. Like what? People can experience eye, throat, and bronchial irritation, lightheadedness, nausea, cough, phlegm, asthma, allergic or asthma-like response, increased risk for cardiac events, low birth weight in newborns, and damage to sperm, chromation, and DNA. There are non-cancerous and cancerous effects too. So what can we do? Well, you can turn off your vehicles while waiting, warm your car by driving instead of idling, avoid driving thrusts, use mass transportation, or even carpool. Some thoughts for the future are to make more affordable technology, enforcing idling laws, more public education, and research and development on the issue. Wow, those are some great ideas. Thanks, Sharon. And thanks to all of you out there for joining us on this edition of Mythbusters.